Hello, Denise, Priscilla, my dear
Hey.
friends.
Good
Hey,
afternoon.
how you doing, girls? How you
I'm
doing,
doing well.
Denise?
I'm well.
Sounds
I'm
like you had a really good
optimistic.
holiday. Optimistic, well, and I'm grateful. Put those three together. That's pretty
Pretty good
hopeful,
deal.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, Denise, what was wonderful for you? What worked really well for you? You were a trauma survivor. You've been through a lot, but this was a good Christmas. What made the difference?
Because, it's now, like, I think I've been back, let's see, I got back in 2011. So it's, I've been back a long time. And so, I'm really just a part of the Christmas tradition now at my mom's house. And it's really awesome. And I just really sat back and enjoyed it.
So, what did you love about the Christmas tradition? Because for survivors, there's often like a trigger, trigger, trigger. It sounds like you've turned triggers into possibilities. Is that the case?
Yes, the tradition is everyone goes to my mom's house on Christmas Eve, and we also had a Christmas Eve tradition when I was a young child.
What was
So
that?
we would go over to the grandma's house, and then Santa Claus would come while we were there, and we'd go home, and Santa Claus will have had been to our tree.
That's a busy Santa Claus, honey.
Yes. And so we, get our gifts on Christmas Eve. So it was just fun. I made gifts for each of my sisters and my mom, which was really added to my own delight of the gift giving
Tell us
tradition.
about that, sweetie, because I saw the photographs of those baskets you made. You did really great. Because people listening might think, I can't make anything, but how did you learn?
I watched on YouTube. They're called quail baskets, and you get this filling. Here, I'll show you two. I have them right here.
Yeah, please.
Nice.
Did you see these, Priscilla? It's very
No,
cool.
well, I haven't been really on Facebook or haven't. Oh, I like that. So I don't
That.
know. Oh, it's going to be in
That
front
is
of me.
beautiful. Yeah,
This
that's
was my
great.
first basket, but it was flat. You saw the picture. It was
Yeah.
flat. It was before I knew how to do it. And so I didn't do it properly. And so it was like just came out with no structure at all. And it became ungiftable. But so I just put it aside. And then after I gift made one for each of my sisters and my mom and Gina, who I live with, then I came home, when I came home from Christmas, I undid it and redid it. And now it's a
Ah,
good basket. And then this is
wow.
my other new one.
Oh, I like that. What a great color.
So you take this filler string and you just keep wrapping and wrapping and
What do you
Okay.
wrap it with?
yarn. Yarn's the best
Nice.
thing. See, I'm not really good at following directions and reading directions and doing the directions thing. So it took me like 5 baskets to get it just right. But when I first went, I went to the store and I just bought a variety of yarns and things I didn't really even know. What I didn't read. I don't read first. I don't know. That's just my style of learning.
Mhm.
And so each one was so different working with the materials. But I was able to accomplish a basket for each person in the color that I chose. And then the texture is what would change mostly.
So cool. So tell me, not that the response is important, but tell me, what did it feel like when you were handing these homemade gifts to each one of your relatives?
It was, I just felt proud that, I used to make, stuff all the time. And in my classroom, I had
Yeah.
that expression because I was making stuff with kids, for kids, planning activities and whatnot. So I had that creative self-expression. But since I've been out of the classroom, I hadn't really, I did a little bit here, a little bit there. We made a wind chime and I do work with clay, but I haven't had a good big project. So I bought, a huge bag full of yarn and sat and did it. In all the
Man, that's so
time that I
cool.
used to spend smoking cigarettes, now I have a new thing to do with my time.
Oh, I love it. Is that so? What's going on with cigarettes, girl? Are they decreasing?
I haven't had a cigarette in almost 2 months. Yeah. I got
Brilliant. Good for you.
I think it's for real finally. I had hypnotism. It was a
Uh-huh.
free hypnotism that somebody sent me via text message, and I hooked up with it, and it was successful in one attempt.
Wow. Tell us about that because that's a big deal. Because going along with being a trauma survivor, we get a lot of addictions, right? It's
Right.
like a quick way to feel better. And cigarettes for you have helped. You feel better.
Yeah.
But you've always wanted to stop too.
I
So
have
so
wanted
how
to stop since I started, really, if you get back down to it. I've quit a million times. And I did do hypnotism once,
is that like, sweetie?
hypnosis. Well, the first time I did it, it wasn't effective at all. I went out and went to the store and bought a pack. But this time it was just effective. I didn't have a pack. I've been trying to quit, harder and harder each time. I have been quitting a month before my doctor's appointment so that I could tell my doctor that I quit, And then the minute I get off my doctor, I go smoke, right? But this time I'm not, doing it. I'm not.
So talk with us about the difference. What made this hypnosis work for you? What do you think was different
I'll
inside of
tell
you
you,
and outside? Yeah, please.
a young woman, like her name is like Fairy or something. Like she was a little bit magical kind of woman.
Okay. Magic
And
is good.
yeah, and it was through Zoom, and she, interviewed me, and then we set an appointment. And so from the interview, she took everything that I hated about smoking and made it into like a affirmation. And then she took other questions she had asked me about is when I had success or when I was successful at something, or what helped me be successful in my career or whatever. She asked me a bunch of questions. So first she hypnotized me, then said things that accentuated all the gross, dirty, filthy, stinking, rotten cigarette stuff. Stinky clothes, stinky car, and dirty. So first she emphasized all that. Then she went through and mentioned all the things, all the skills that I already have demonstrated to myself of how I am successful at things, how I'm diligent, how I work hard, how so I think the combination, I mean, and the timing was just right for me. And so now and forever, I am a non-smoker.
Yay, girl, that is brilliant.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And
Thanks.
one day at a time, girl, is what we've got, each one of
Yeah.
us, one day at a time. And today you have not had a cigarette and actually for 2 months, one
Right.
day at a time. That is so
And
good.
I've been to each of the places that normally trigger me, except my sister. Like I've been to
Oh,
the cottage. I've been to the cottage, which I always
yep.
want to smoke when I go to the cottage because you're outside the whole time, and I just want to. I didn't smoke at the cottage. I've been to my mom's house. Didn't smoke at my mom's house. I've been, driving far away. I didn't smoke driving far, in the car. So all the places except for my sister Debbie, who I'm going to go see this month. Uh, she's a chain smoker in her house. So that will be
Are
my
you gonna
next challenge. But,
are you gonna stay there with Debbie at her place?
yeah, probably.
Okay, so you let us know and also let the listeners know when you're going to make that trip so we can send each person
That's,
in her own way can send energy to you of healing because
okay, I will.
that'll help, girl.
Yeah,
So
it does. It will help.
sometime in January you're going?
Yeah, I already have the day written down, the 23rd.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
Girl, I'm really proud of you because as long as I've known you, this has been a heartfelt desire of yours.
right.
heartfelt. And
Yeah,
it's
and
been
I've
very
quit a
hard to
few
give up.
times, and yeah,
Yeah.
and
But hard to
sometimes
give
for
up because
months.
but going back to it is like a comfort place. And as a trauma survivor, we all need to have something that feels like it's taking care of us, and in a
Right.
way,
But now I can just breathe. I also have a device called Foom. It's a essential oils.
oh, cool.
I have peppermint in there, so I can just and have
Oh,
the action. And it's a peppermint essential oils.
how does that work for you? What do you feel when you breathe in
I like
peppermint?
to have it in my pocket when I first get in the van because that's one of the times that I would always light up. So I just pull it out and do that, and it takes care of the urge.
Good for you, because so much of smoking is the gesture, the
Right,
movement, the way of
right. The
expressing
opening of the
ourselves.
pack, the carrying of the cigarette lighter in your pocket, all that, there's so many things that are ritualistic about it.
And my son was here for Christmas, and I love him. And as most people know, my son is neurodivergent, and the United States government says he's severely disabled, and he's smoked for a very long time. And when he started smoking, I wept because I just watched him become addicted, and I was so heartbroken. And yet he did it with a group of other kids that were hurting and saw themselves as broken, and smoking was something they could do together. So it was a both and. It was like a paradox.
Right.
I could see where it helped him feel part of something, and yet at the same time it was potentially going to kill him. So now, one of the tough things that happened for Christmas for me was my son's here. We had a great Christmas day, spending the night. I'm still recovering from respiratory infection. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, my son comes in my bedroom and goes, Mom, get up. I'm sleeping. What you talking? Mom, get up. He wants me to take him for cigarettes at 4 in the morning because he's out of cigarettes. And there it is. There
Right.
is, there it is right there. He has an addiction that drives him. He can't stop the addiction on a moment's notice. He might want to. We've looked everywhere for addiction, nicotine addiction and caffeine addiction help, and it's not there. He can't get that kind of help. He's also addicted to Red Bull. And here's something that a friend pointed out to me today. He said, look, you've always known, and you guys know this too, Priscilla, that people who are on the spectrum, sometimes Coke and caffeine calms them down.
Right.
It's always been true for my son. But what another friend of mine who's a recovering addict said, he said, look, in my research he's got a dilemma called essential tremors where he shakes. And he said, one of the things I've discovered is that smoking stops the intrusive thoughts of schizophrenia that come in.
Right.
And my son's diagnosis is so complex that may be one of the things he's doing. He's always said, Mom, I'm doing this because it's how I know how to heal myself. And it's the healing of himself in the short term, moment at a time. That's what he does. And the irony is it may kill him. And yet
Right.
there's my opportunity as a mother is to grieve with sadness every time I see my son smoking and drinking. And at the same time, he's made life choices. He's 42. These are the
Right.
ways he knows to take care of himself. And the new serenity prayer, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, which is everybody else. Courage to change the one I can, which is me, and the wisdom to know the difference. I go away heartbroken, and I also go away loving him.
Right.
And those two are there at the same time. And Priscilla, you've got something else going on too, right? Your dad.
Life
You've got
change.
life change. Your dad is always your dad. Just like Denise's dad and Denise's mom are always her parents. And my dad is always my dad. There's no way I could ever change a narcissist, even though I thought I could. And you work so hard at this relationship, and you said something just as we were starting off that the other folk didn't hear about: one step forward, two, three steps backward. What's going on, and what are you learning from it?
Yes, first off, I want to congratulate Denise for making those beautiful baskets. They are beautiful, and it took you less time than what it took Albert Einstein to get us some light. So you go,
Good.
girl. And yes, Holly, like when you're saying about the smoking, one of the things I used to smoke early in my pre-adolescent, not pre-adolescent, my pre-adult life. And one of the things that I continue to practice today when I get the urge, it's sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds. Um, and one of the things that I also, when I'm speaking to people and helping them rewire their brain to having different thoughts, is thinking about what it does to you and what do you have around. Because I think smoking and alcohol, it's like one of the worst things because people who have trauma, schizophrenia, mood disorders of any kind, becomes their escape and coping skill.
You're right.
Yeah. So, and about me, yes, my Christmas was different, but kind of like the same. We've been practicing. We are very, oh God, I have intentional with everything we do. It was very nice to have my sister here. I don't remember when was the last time I saw her opening gifts. So that
Oh,
was
wow.
very cute, very nice, very humbling. Um, but that also was very triggering for a narcissistic person who has control and I didn't know that sending pictures was going to bring other topics that I have not I have no say on. And yeah, that was a trigger for my father. And I felt like after we made 3 step forward, now we're back into square zero.
So
And
before we get there, sweetie, I want to ask because it sounds so important. When we did our last program, the three of us, your sister joined us. And
yes,
she said, "This is what I want for Christmas. This is what I want." She was really clear about what she wanted, which I loved. And she was really excited about Christmas. She was so happy to be with you. I mean, it gave me joy. And Denise looked like you were happy to see this.
Oh yeah, I saw some photos on Facebook too that are, she's adorable woman. Adorable.
And
thank
she
you.
was happy. She's so happy to be with people that love her. So, you
Yes.
know, it's just beautiful. And she got the
And
dog
she
sailing
makes you happy
around.
too,
She got
Priscilla.
your
I can
kids
see that
around.
she gives you a spark of joy.
She does. And hope. Um, yeah. And that,
Yeah,
that
so
does
tell
come
us
with it.
about the moment before you switch to your what happened with your dad, which is this is the way it works for trauma survivors. We have moments of joy, and then we have moments where people need to bring the joy, like put the needle in and deflate it. But tell us about the joy. Tell us about your sister opening gifts.
It was very nice. I could see, and for me, like now I see her with a different lens. So it was nice to see her opening gift, knowing that she's accepted, knowing that she was seen. So her, my 6 year old, sat on the front of the Christmas tree and waited for the gifts to be given to them. So that was very exciting. It was very humbling. We got her Christmas pajamas, so she was included. And that made my morning. That made my morning.
What
And
did she
yeah.
love, sweetie? What did they both? Your son is must have loved his gifts too. So what's one gift that they both loved that you loved watching them open?
Oh Jesus. She opened this unicorn headphone set and that made her super happy. She loves unicorns, so we also got her like a unicorn alarm clock, things that she's going to be needing in her room. We got her a unicorn nightlight um and a comforter for it's not a unicorn comforter, but it's a with the colors of the unicorn
Right.
to kind of like put it all nice together. Yeah, and my son, I did an impulsive emotional buying after we bought him all the gifts. He saw that my older son was getting a PlayStation 5, and he was like, I want one. And me and my husband has also spoken about him not getting a PlayStation 5. But I was having, to make it fair, I was having a lot of mixed emotions, and I went and got him a PlayStation 5. So see, he cried. He cried when he saw it.
Oh,
And that was like my aha moment.
oh, he must have been so happy.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Wow.
Yeah. So that was nice to see. And so we set it up with parental control, all this other stuff. So he's only allowed to use it the most 2 hours a day.
Hmm.
So I guess we're making it happen.
Girl, okay, so now here's another thing for trauma survivors, and if either of you has a comment about how this all fits in with being trauma survivors, you made spontaneous decisions. And what I experience a lot of times is to judge myself, like, oh no, wrong, bad, bad, bad drug, bad drug. What I'm finding out, the more I accept myself as a trauma survivor, is that my judgment is actually pretty sound. And the spontaneous judgments where I just say, all right, in this moment, here's what I'm going to do. Like my son is in my room at 4 a.m. I need sleep badly. I'm sick. I'm getting better. What do? I say, I love this guy and this is what he needs. And I can love him through this. And I can be kind to myself too. So 4 a.m, I'm going, okay, Cole, let's make a deal. I need to sleep one more hour. Let's talk about what you can do for the next hour. And then come and get me at 5 o'clock and we'll work it out, and that was okay. And so you made this, it was a spontaneous thing. And what I'm coming to see is my judgments are actually a whole lot better. And when I think of the voices that tell me, bad dog, I was not ever encouraged as a child to think that my judgments were good. Were you?
Yeah.
But
My,
Denise,
my
the judgment you made about non-smoking, you did it. And Priscilla, you made this tough choice about your son, and it turned out to be beautiful. Of course he cried. It was a real special thing. You did it.
and he gave us that aha moment to all of us, because we were like, do you really got water in your eyes? Are you really going to cry? So that was like, we were in this belief.
Oh,
So that made my Christmas. Also, it was nice to share my sister's pictures and to hear the feedback of my family, and saying she's in good hands. She's right where she needs to be.
she
And
looks so happy, honey, in
Yeah,
those
he does.
pictures. Oh my God, congratulations. Okay, so now let's take it to the next step. You made all these beautiful choices. You brought happiness. People accepted the happiness. Your sister felt at home. I mean, feeling at home for trauma survivors, like, wow, that's bliss. That's
And
bliss.
it triggered your father.
Yeah, so let's go there. What
yeah,
happened?
so I sent pictures to my father, because I'm thinking like he probably has not seen her opening gift in a long, long time. Um, and yeah, that caused him to call, and he started asking questions about when I'm going to Puerto Rico. And I said, I'm not going yet. I'm thinking about going when everything. By the way, today was my grandmother's celebration in her last goodbyes. Um, and I said, I'm thinking about going after this date, but I have to think, because on this day I also have a social security appointment with my sister. And he's like, that was it. That was what made us go backwards, because he was like, what do you mean social security? You're moving too fast. I haven't spoken with your aunt. You can't just make decisions. You guys are violating my rights. I said, I'm not violating your rights. This is not conversations that you need to have with me. But my sister, it's now in my home, and she is financially consuming me. And when I went to pick her up, I was not giving no money, no nothing. And I wasn't really prepared for this. This is not my kid. This is you and my mom's kid. And, the state gives her some incentives. She's here. I and that was the part that he was not hearing. And he told me that I was being disrespectful and dishonoring him. And I said, and you're being manipulative. It kind of triggered both of us. I said,
What do you think happened with him? What in him got triggered? What was his need that got triggered?
so I feel like, so my father, and I explained this to one of my cousins. My father, my sisters get Social Security because of him working. And he feels entitled to that Social Security. And he feels as if people need to give him explanation about this. So, like, I feel like him not feeling included, right? And I think that I believe that my father has always, like, the family has always tried to get him included, but he always brings it back to the roots of why things are the way they are, and to justify or why things are the way they are. And if things would have, he always brings it back into, this is what I did not want it, but because of this person making this decision, and goes in a tangent about it. Like, he just goes on and on. And when I stopped him, I feel like right now in this space, he felt like he was entitled to say these things again, because we are in these spaces. And then he says, what you need to do is bring your sister to Puerto Rico and drop her off to me. And I
Uh-huh.
said, okay, so as long as you don't bring her back to my mom and make my mom respond, because right, I have another sister like this that my mom takes care of. And he's like, that's not your business. And I said, if it impacts my mom, it's my business. This is my mom. Um, my father, and he says, this is where you're being disrespectful. And I say, and this is where you're being manipulative, because now you're want me to do something, and you're not looking at my sister's emotional well-being. You're just thinking about this control, and kind of got us in a very not nice space. And I told him, it's very sad that we have created such a nice bond. And I said, look at me. My hope is that you can look at me as a third person rather than your daughter. And then do what you have to do. If you want to go to court, if you want to speak to my aunt, if you what you want to investigate things, do what you have to do, and let the outcome not be a barrier for us to continue our relationship the way it was. Um, and he's like, no, so I was like, it's Christmas. He actually triggered a big migraine for me on that day.
Ouch.
And that same day, I noticed that I'm not going to change my father, right? And it hurts, the decision and how things unfolded, but it is what it is. I'm not going to drag it. I'm not going to put myself in a situation. So when I spoke to my aunt about this, she was like, I'm so sorry. This is exactly what I did not want it to happen. And I said, yeah, but this is exactly who you included in these conversations. So when you include him, I have clearly said my father is not going to change. We have to treat people with narcissistic behavior intense, because he's intense to the point that I still tell my mom, if I was you, I'll be scared of this man, because he just changes. He's too much. And I said, it is what it is. I Not so I can't do nothing about the things that it is. It hurts. It doesn't, I don't know if it hurts. I like right now, it's fair to say I have mixed emotions. There's so many things happening, and potential lost and distancing, that I'm like, it's fair to say that I feel like I'm in a fog of letting things come into place. Being very mindful, understanding the things that I do have control, being receptive of the things that I can manage, and understanding that it's not my fault to think or control what other people, but this is what I have control of.
Right.
Um,
And now you can settle in to your new thing and how
Exactly.
it's going to go and what it's going to be like. And you need to settle in.
Yes. I
Denise,
feel
does
like
this
I,
remind you of any dynamic you faced in your family?
I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask Denise if this reminds her of any dynamic she faced, because we've all got narcissists in our families.
No, no, it
Okay.
doesn't.
Okay. So the word that you've used about 3 times, and I think it's powerful, Priscilla, is control. And one of the things that narcissists need is absolute control. And it's about power. If everything gets reduced to who's got the power, your father is consistent. He is consistent about saying, I am the powerful person and you can't make decisions for me. Honestly, that's what my father said too. He was just outraged if anyone would make a decision. It was not who the hell was I to make a decision about my life? He had that power. And you're right. We're not going to change them. Now you have choices. You've done all kinds of things. The last time we talked, you had helped, you had applied for help for your sister. You had filled out all this, it takes a lot, and you were doing that.
It does take a lot.
It does. And you're trying to get her services in another state. She was totally over in New York, and now she's in Massachusetts. What power do you have, especially under when you are constantly being, what's the word, attacked, not appreciated?
As we speak, I'm going to move my car. I'm going to turn off my.
Okay, sweetie, whatever you got to do. Okay. So as you're doing that, let's talk about, and I'm checking the time here. Let's talk about what happens when we deal with a person who can't share power.
My mom's like that. Yeah.
Yes, she has been. And what have you learned about that?
Uh, well, I mentioned it to my sister once, and my sister said, it runs in the family. And so then I started looking at my own self too about having the routine or like she just does everything so ritualized. And so then I looked at myself and I actually do, I thrive in routine also, and so does she. So,
Yeah, and I noticed for my father, I noticed that creating that, being including him and including me in part of his routine was what was working. Like, right, when I would go to Puerto Rico, before I went to Puerto Rico, I would tell him, these are the dates I'm going. Which day do you want to see me? Right. And I will give him that power. And in our relationship, it was me giving him that quote unquote power. And that's how we were able to make those step forwards, because I gave him the power with limits. With my sister coming, that power, he feels it was taken away,
right.
but it wasn't by my choice. And because they over there ignoring him and my sister is here and we have this relationship, one of the things he kept on saying, you need to do what your brother does. He listens to me and he does not. And this is why we have a good relationship. And I say, you're not going to manipulate me. I don't owe you nothing. You don't owe me nothing. We are building our relationship because that's important for me. But if this is not working out because I'm not aligned to your decision, then let it be, Papi, because I just can't. And it's not fair. You're not being fair with me. You're not my boss. And he tried to tell me something, and I said, I want to tell you something that I think, and I want to make sure that you understand. He always will tell me, you need to pass the page. And I say, passing the page does not mean I erase my history. I remember when you used to do this to me when I used to go to school. You created these knots, and what I did is on these knots, I released the knots to give us an opportunity, because I didn't want those knots. I did not want to carry those knots with me. And what you're trying to do now is to recreate those knots, and I'm not going to allow you to. And
And if he recreates those knots, what benefit is that to him?
Sadly, none.
What for him, he's got the power. He exerted himself. That's all it is. He exerted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
yeah, go ahead.
I think this time, if he was to create these knots, may impact him more and I'm worried a bit about it. It's very sad, but I think it's very people need to understand that when people no longer have control, this is when they become very dangerous, right?
Right.
But not because they become dangerous, we have to be submissive to their toxic behavior and allow them to continue abusing us. Um, it is very sad for him because and God knows what can happen. Like he may have a heart attack, God forbid, and something happens to him, and now I have my brother blaming me for it.
Right.
Um, but in my head, I know I've done everything I can to protect our relationship, and it's okay to also protect me. I
Yep.
I need to heal and teach also my children that healing sometimes means you may have to cut that knot.
One of the things that's hardest for us, at least hardest for me as a trauma survivor, is to see outright unfairness. And the situation, as I see it with your sister, is your sister was in a dire situation. She needed immediate help. You were called. You responded. You knew that you could offer something. Now, did she call your father? I don't know. Did he offer to help? I don't know. But the fairness here is that you offered compassion to take your sister in, give her a home where she could feel she belonged. Now, that is great compassion. And the injustice here is that your father can only see whether he's in control or not. If
Right.
you have any control, that takes away from his total control. And narcissists need total control. When you talked about your father having a heart attack, I don't think I've shared this with either of you, but when my second sister got married, my father had a heart attack before her wedding. It was
My
no,
father did too during my sister's second. My second sister got married the same day Jack had a heart attack and had to go to the hospital. That's
and
crazy, huh?
what did that say to you, girl? What was
Wow.
going on?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I don't know what it said. He lost control of that
But
child.
that just shows the amount of intensity that it's happening in their body of that they can't control.
Right.
When I was speaking with my dad, we were on FaceTime, and he kept on touching his heart, and as he's touching his heart, I'm worried about him, and that's when I was like, you know what, we just need to stop this. And then he sent me a message, and I told him, and I sent him a message back, and I said, I said to him, calling things how it is also part of healing. And I hear you, but it's not my business. Whatever thought, whatever you got going on, it's not my business. My mom is my business. Um, and the thing with my father is that he's always looking. Like one of the things that and I said I protect my mom as much as I protect you, because to this day people will say, why doesn't your father have one of them? Why does my father, I have my sister that I have in Puerto Rico, my father only sees her when I'm in Puerto Rico and I bring her with me. He doesn't pick her up and he can't spend the whole day with her because, to be fully transparent, the amount of anxiety that my sister causes him is just too much. And
Because he can't control her because neurodivergent people are not as controllable as people who are people pleasers or whatever, who are paying attention to what the requirements are.
yes, I believe that my sister's set a reminder for him that the life that he wanted was not as he wanted it. And he has no control of that. So when he sees things not, he doesn't see the outcome that he wished he had. He relies on the past to justify why things are the way they are or why he responds the way they are. So I one of the things that I taught him and I told my mom is like, if you can't, it's okay. If having my sister creates all these big feelings, it's okay. So I started even telling my mom, do not expect this from my dad because he just can't. Every time you allow my sister to go with him, you are exposing her to trauma, for her to be re-traumatized. But so I stepped back. I stopped because right, if I have no, with my older sister being here, now I feel like now I'm in control. Now she's here, and guess what? And one of the things, in speaking with my cousin who said she apologized about the whole transition and how things took place. She yesterday when we were speaking, she said to me, "Why don't you take him to court?" I said, "I'm not taking him to court. I'm gonna allow him to take me to court. I'm gonna allow things to play on its course, and I'm gonna let the evidence that I have gathered to be the one to speak in court. And then the judge will make the decision. And in that moment, whatever the judge decide, I will also make my decision because it's not fair for me to be, if she's here and I'm already in a process of things and we are in a state that does have services for my sister, why Puerto Rico doesn't have these services? You know, you can't take care of her. My mom can't take care of her. So why go through all this? I'm not even going to stress about it.
Nope.
But if they feel that if he does something, I hope that my mom is also mentally ready. And sadly, like this is something, it's sad, and then he's going to have to run the course of his own consequences. He's going to have to deal with the consequences of his actions.
Right.
And the court is going to ask the question, the crucial question, what is in the best interest of your sister? And what you've already said is Puerto Rico does not have the same amount of services that Massachusetts has. My son is in Massachusetts also. He gets really considerable, significant help from the state of Massachusetts. If he were in Puerto Rico, he wouldn't get that. And so when the court asks, what's the best for your sister? It's going to be hard for your father to prove.
Show them a picture of her in front of the Christmas tree with your son. I mean,
I just have to show him.
Show him that.
I just have to show the court, honestly, and ask the court, where has he been this whole 16 years?
Right.
Where has he been? He hasn't even taken an airplane to come and see my sister. So where have you been? One. Two is, with the amount of information that I have already and who I am now and what I have to offer, I'm sure the judge will not deny my sister to me, which he will hate it. But I advise him to not, I advise him to take it easy and relax and look at the beauty. And he's not really interested in me. I don't think he really cares where my sister is or what's happening, because I really thought that I heard, and I say I thought that he was very happy that she was with me and he was very proud of that. I think his trigger, his fight response is, I need to know what's happening with her money and I need to know who is in charge. And maybe because I'm a female, he may think that I have no sense of managing finances or something.
Does he understand that you have your own business?
He does. He does, but I believe he doesn't capture it. Like, right, one of the things that it was so funny, we were making jokes about it because I drive a Mercedes. So one of the things I'm saying is, oh, I'm probably going to get an up, which we have already been talking about. Well, I might get an upgrade or whatever. And I'm like, nothing. And one of the things that we did find out how my sister's finances were being misused, which that was very upsetting, because I believe I went through the progress notes and there were recommendations that were not followed through. So that was very upsetting to see. So now I'm like, nobody can say that whatever they see, because I have it all. If anything, and this is what I told my father, you do what you want, but it's not fair neither for me to just ignore the nonsense that's been happening. When I spoke to my cousin, I said, my sisters cannot be the bridge for people to live. Like, no, go get a job.
You're right, though, because one of the painful things in listening to your story is that your sisters both deserve help from the state. And here's the heartache. They were getting help. Your sister was in Rochester was getting help, but it was being abused.
Yes.
And what do you do when help paid for by the state is not doing what it's supposed to do? Somebody's got to take action. You took action. Your dad had years to pay attention. It was not what he wanted. When control is the goal, there's no need to take any action except to keep in control. Mm-hmm. When compassion is the goal, you do what you did, which is to help your sister find a way to get her life back. This is the challenge of trauma survivors consistently. If we seek fairness, compassion, and a chance for people to get their lives back, and we're in the context of narcissists who don't seek any of that, they just want to keep control. How do the two forces come together? How does justice happen? And that's the challenge. You know, I hear you saying your dad can take you to court. I also would hope that you have thought about somebody who can be a really strong advocate for your sister, legal advocate. And there must be plenty of, well, I don't know, plenty, but have you looked into that?
I haven't looked into it, but I find myself strong enough to advocate for her. I mean, who better? I believe, like the law, it's everything, but who better than me and my lived experience and who I have become to advocate for my sister, for her well-being, like, and put the judge in it. Like, so I had a recent case of a private client actually who came to me for parental alignment. There was parental alienation happening to this young girl, and I wrote a very nice letter to the judge about my assessment and what I thought, and I recommended a clinical review. And interesting, they've been fighting for about 5 years for this girl. And when I wrote this letter to the judge granted that. And the mom was super happy. She was like, "Oh my God, Priscilla, this and that." And it's people need to understand that you have rights. I don't have thousands of dollars to get a lawyer right now to advocate for my sister, but I do have evidence that speaks on itself. I mean, my sister's been 16 years without a neuropsych. Right now, she has a diagnosis of intermittent explosive disorder. I can assume that some of those behaviors may be related because that's, if anything, my father will fit that diagnosis. But with my sister, it'll be very interesting because as I was gathering information, not one person told me that my sister was, they do say she's impulsive, but not aggressive. But when she was in my aunt's house, she was aggressive. And my aunt and my cousin agreed. My aunt was very rigid, very fixated, very, if you know how to do this, you must know this too. And, it was very controlling. And as a smart, certified clinician myself, which is sensory motor arousal techniques, we're always exploring like, okay, so if this is triggering, let's always give something to somebody where they feel comfortable in. And that was not offered to my sister.
Right. So
And
she
just give
ended
us
frustrated. She didn't even,
Yeah.
she probably didn't get to choose whether she likes unicorns or teddy bears, or
Exactly.
she didn't get to select what color her room might be, or her sheet, whatever, that becomes frustrating for someone, whether you're disability or not, you
Yeah.
still need life.
Yeah. They
And
also recommended therapy. It was
Mhm.
never followed through. They recommended other assessment. It was never followed through. So that for me speaks loud. Um,
Sounds like neglect.
yes. Right. Like people may think, like if the Department of Adult goes to the house, we'll see the check marks. Oh, she has a roof. She has this, right? And they're all focusing on what the caregiver is saying based on ID. On in some papers says she has severe intellectual disability, and others says she has moderate intellectual disability. When I was reading an IQ test that was done to her on when she was 28 years old, it says, that she's responds well, she's coherent. Another thing is from a trauma lens, people with ID who have experienced trauma may sometimes create not stories, but they can combine them. But for me, from a trauma lens, I can see also where there's truth to this because it's so descriptive. It could have happened. And my sister was said, a lot of the things was, you gave her what she needed. And I say this, I appreciate my aunt for giving her what she needed. But in the other end, she was neglected. She was not allowed to be her.
Right.
As we draw to a close here, I'm going to invite people that are listening. If you have neurodiverse members of your family, and most of us do, have you faced something similar, or you knew in your heart something had to be done, and yet family dynamics said, if you do that, I'm going to sue you or I'm going to get you. How do we, as trauma survivors who have been taught to be afraid of being re-triggered, how do we find the courage, like Priscilla found, to do the right thing, to get her sister out of a situation that was not serving her? How do we find the courage not just to take that action, but to then take action that is going to continue to get the services that the person needs? As trauma survivors, we need to have courage, deep courage within ourselves and deep trust for ourselves. And we were taught not to trust ourselves, not to believe in ourselves. And so every trauma like this that comes along gives us a chance to say, who am I? What is my purpose on earth? And how can I be of service? And Patricia, I just want to end with, what are you finding out about yourself and what your purpose is as you go through this?
I find my sisters are an inspiration. I actually say now, hey, she's probably gonna be the person who I do my thesis when I get my doctorate, right? Because it's evidence based. I'm looking at it from curiosity, but also I am my sister keeper. I've always been my sister advocate, and I feel that at one point our voice were manipulated and controlled, and not no more. I remember one of my supervisors said to me, Priscilla, you go out there and advocate. My son was fired and denied some things when he was working in a residential. And when I looked into stuff, I was like, no. And I advocated for my son, and everything came out beautiful. We went to hearing, court, everything was beautiful. And the outcome was beautiful. And that supervisor said to me, you go and advocate for your son like you advocate for these families. And I did that. And I think that now that's what empowers me. My recommendation to people is, if you have a gut feeling that something's not right and you could do something, find the help. There's people out there that's willing to give you guidance. You could go to Google and said, what is happening here, is this normal? And if it's not, there's people out there. There's the federal for special needs. There's the disability. I had a beautiful conversation today with the disability department from here from Massachusetts.
Good.
Nice.
Good.
And that makes me feel like when I first came to Massachusetts, I feel like when I came to Massachusetts, I didn't know nobody. Like they were just waiting for me to come here to help me. And with my sister, I feel like I'm getting that as well.
But yeah, right.
Beautiful. Well, my friends, we've come to the end of our time, and I want to thank Priscilla for sharing with us her heartfelt story and her courage and her dilemmas. There's always a dilemma when it comes to a narcissist, and yet the answer is within ourselves, and the answer is within the support we can give each other.
Yep.
So, folks that are with us, if you have comments you want to make to Priscilla, please do. Join us next week. We'll be back in the new year to share our
Happy
continued
New Year.
journey, walking each
Happy
other
New Year.
home. So happy New Year. And I'll be
Thank
80
you.
years old when I see you guys the next time. So look forward to increased knowledge or wisdom or something, or just same old, but it's going to be a new year for all of us. So God bless you both. And I'll see you next
Thank you.
Monday.
right.
Bye. Have a good one.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
guys. Love you both.
Bye.
Love you both.